Alright friends, if you could remember in the second video of this tutorial, when I first made mention of functions, I told you guys about the main function and what the main function stands for in that. And I told you guys that the main function is the entry point of that. So this is the main function, which has a type annotation of void. So this function literally returns nothing, you understand? So now I'm going to go ahead creating my own function, and also I'm going to go ahead explaining for you guys what a function is, and also I'm going to go ahead breaking for you guys into pieces every part that makes up the function, starting from its type annotation, its name, and its curly braces, which is the code block. Now what is a function? A function is a block of reusable and organized code that performs a single or related action. Now what do I mean by this? Let's take for instance, I come inside here and I define a function named value, or I'm going to say num value. I'm going to say num value. If you could remember, this is the lower upper naming case convention. So int name value, I'm going to say equal to, I'm going to say 2 plus 2. Let's close this. Then I'm going to go ahead and say print num value. Then let's run this. This gives us an output of 4. So how about if we want to go ahead running 3 plus 2, you hit run. Five. And how about you also want to go ahead running 6 plus 2, 7 plus 2, 8 plus 2, and the rest of that. So you could see right now that we're just kind of repeating the same block of code. So take for instance, now I want to run 3 plus 2. Let me just go ahead, copy this. Let me show you guys what I mean. Control C, Control V, Control V. Let me paste this 4 times. Then inside here, I'm gonna just be adding just to change make a difference in the naming. 3 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 5 plus 2, then 6 plus 2. Then if I want to go ahead and see the result of this remaining three variables here, because you can see the value of the local variable name value isn't used. So if I want to go ahead and see the result of these 3 values, so that's going to make me right now, I'm going to come here and print, I'm going to make 3 print statements. So let me just copy this, Control V, yeah. And I'm going to go ahead changing this. So if I run this, it goes. We have 3 plus 2, 5, 4 plus 2, 6, then 7 and 8. So you could see that this is just simply a repetition of code, you understand? So I'm just simply repeating myself. So what I just want to do, like the basic logic of what I want to do is that I want to sum up 2 mathematical numbers, you understand? I want to sum up just 2 mathematical variable numbers, you understand? Then I just want to get the output of my summation. So this is very simple. So in using function, what you go ahead doing is you just create a function that does this purpose, that performs the logic. So take for instance, if I want to create a function that performs this logic, say the simple thing I'm going to do. I'm going to come out of here and I'm going to say void, because I don't want this to return anything. Also, I'm going to say void, then task. I'm going to say task, then my curly braces, then inside this I'm going to pass in parameters. I'm going to pass in 2 parameters, one for our first value, then I'm going to separate this with a comma, then second for our second value. So after that, inside the curly braces where our code block is going to take place, our code is going to take place. So I'm going to say print a plus b. So I'm going to go ahead, come inside here right now. So I'm just going to call this function. So by calling the function, you just state the function's name, which is task, task. Then inside this, you're gonna have to pass in two parameters. So inside here, the first parameter I'm gonna pass in is 3. Let me say 3. Then the second one is 2. Then let's close this with our semicolon. So you could, if you remember, I told you guys previously that you always end every statement you make in that using a semicolon. So I'm gonna go ahead running this right now. Run. So you see, it provides me with an output of 5. So let me just comment this first. So yeah, I've already commented this. So you see how simple this is. So the logic I took out from this is that I want to sum two variables, which is a and b. So whatever value, whatever whatever parameter is being passed down into this function is being passed into this function. The function assigns it positionally. It assigns it positionally to each argument being passed here. So three here is assigned positionally to the first argument here, which is a. Likewise, to 2 is being assigned to the second argument you see here, which is b. So then what task does this function perform? So the task in which the function performs is inside the body. So I told this function to perform for me a print statement which prints out an output of a plus b. So whatever I provide here now, so I can go ahead, let me duplicate this, control b, let me paste this into 4 places. So let me just go ahead changing all these values. 4, 5, and 6 is what I have here. So I have 4, I have 5, and I have 6. So let me save and let me run. So you see, it still gives me the same output 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the difference here now is that I've saved us the time of repetition of code. You understand? So we don't have to repeat the print statement. So the only print statement we made use of here was a single print statement, which is this you can see here. So the only thing that we kept on doing was we kept on calling the functions and just changing the parameter values for the arguments. You understand? So that's what function does, and that's how function operates. So now I'm going to also go ahead explaining for you guys every part of a function you see and you know. So let me get rid of everything here and let's continue. Okay, let me leave this. So in a function has two parts majorly. So the first part of a function is the function signature, and then the second part of the function is the function body. Now what's the function signature? The function signature has a return type. You can see the return type here, the void, or you could also say a function signature has a type annotation or a type annotated to it. So you could see the void here, this is the return type or the type annotation. Then also it has a function name. It has a function name. Follow the function name follows suit after the type annotation. Then after that, it also has a parameter list. So this is the parameter list. So from here now, the parameter lists you can see here inside these two brackets, the open bracket and the close bracket. So this is the parameter list. So this contains the parameter list. Then this task is the function name, and then the void over here is the type annotated to this function, or you could say is the return type of this function. And so that's for the function signature. Why for the function body? A function body is the code surrounded by the curly braces after the function name. So after the function name, this is the function name. So the code surrounded by the curly braces, this is the code surrounded by the curly braces. This is the first curly brace and this is the second one. So the code surrounded by these two curly braces is considered to be a function body. I hope you guys now understand the reusability of a function to organize code and to make code much more simplified, neat, and clean. And also the function signature and its body. Because now I'm going to go ahead explaining for you guys the that function. So I was kind of literally explaining for you guys function in general in all programming languages. You understand? But now I'm going to go into that functions. So for that functions, let me go ahead creating the first function. Okay. Let's take this now to be our first function. So this function over here has a return type of void, and this function's name is task. Then it took in two arguments here, a and b. Then inside the code block we have print a plus b. So in that functions we have different ways of creating the function. So first of all, you must make sure you have your type followed by the name, the parentheses, and then the curly brace. So how about if I want to make a function, if I want to create a function that's not returning nothing, that like I want to make a non-null function. So how I'm gonna do this is let me combine this, and I'm gonna say string. So this is my type annotation for this function. So string, and I'm gonna say song. I'm gonna name the function song. Then inside the curly braces, or before that, inside the parameter here, I'm gonna say I'm gonna name this to be song. SONGG. I know the spelling is wrong, but I just needed to make a difference here. So inside this, I'm gonna make sure that what I'm returning is a string. So I'm gonna return a string of song, then close this with a semicolon. So inside the main function over here, so let's go ahead calling this up. So I'm gonna create a variable which has a return type of string, because the function returns a string to us. The function is a string function. So string, and I'm gonna say song this time around with a triple G, song equal to, then I'm gonna call the function. I'm gonna say song. Then inside the function, you see it says one positional argument expected by song but zero found. So we need to pass in the positional argument here. So the positional argument we have to pass inside here, we have to make sure it's a string. You understand? Because the function is a string function. So if you pass in an integer here, it's gonna be totally wrong. It's not acceptable. So you're gonna make sure that the return value in which you return to this function should be a string, because its type annotation is a string. So I'm gonna go ahead returning a string. So what song am I gonna make mention here? I'm gonna say set fire to the rain by Adele. Set fire to the rain by Adele. Yeah. Let me make this a capital letter because it's a noun. By Adele. Then let me close this with a semicolon. The value of the local variable song isn't used. So we've created the variable here song. So for us to make use of this, I'm gonna say print song. Yep, print song. Then let's close this and let's run this. So you see our output here, set fire to the rain by Adele. So this function now is working fine and perfectly okay. So one thing I want you guys to take note of from here is that whenever you return a value to a function, make sure that when you're defining you're calling the function inside the main function here, you have to assign that function inside another variable. Then now that it's been assigned inside another variable, then you can go ahead printing out the result of the function. So you could see I started here creating my function which has a return type of string. Then I went inside the main function because I told you guys earlier on that the only thing when this code is being compiled that the DAS compiler searches for is the main function. So whatever you are doing, you must always have to go back to the motherland, you understand? So this is our motherland, so we're always returning back home. So back here, I created another variable called song equal to song. Then I then called the function this time around. Then I told you guys to make sure that the return the parameter which you guys are passing here must be of the same type with the type annotation of that function. So the type annotation of this function is string, and the parameter which I'm passing inside here is a string, so it matches. So that's why I could see a perfect result. Then I said print song. So take for instance now, let me change this to be an integer value. Let's see the results we're gonna get. Let me come inside here and say one. Let me say one, and let's run this. So you could see what it says to me, script error. So the compiler was unable to compile this because there was a problem here. That's what this simply means. So the problem here is that you're not passing in the correct parameter type to the type annotation here. So that's it. So right now here, what we are doing, or what we'll be making use of since, is the positional parameter. So in that we have so many types of parameters in which we pass into a function. So we have the positional parameter, name parameter, and also optional parameters. The positional parameters are the traditional way of passing arguments to a function. They are defined in the function's declaration and passed into the function in the same order. So a good example of a positional parameter is the sun here. So it's very mindful. The positional parameters are very mindful of their positions, or the positions in which they take. You understand? But for the name parameters, they don't care about any position in which they take. You understand? They just perform the task in which you tell them to perform. So let me give you guys a good example of a named parameter here. So let me change. Okay. Let me leave this because we might come back to this or use this to make reference. So let me just come beneath this again, paste here. Then I've changed the name of this to, let me just go ahead saying animal. Then when when you're when you're making a name parameter, when you're creating a name parameter, you must make sure that your parameter variables are enclosed inside a curly brace, or inside curly braces. Let me bring this up. So inside here, I'm gonna say, let me say first animal. Okay, this time around I want to pass in a type. You know, normally before we don't pass in a type, we just did it the traditional way of creating functions. We don't need a type inside here, you understand? But this time around, in that, you know, that is statically typed. So it's always advisable, and is the best way and the best practice to always make sure that you provide a type to your parameters or your argument being passed. So our type here, I'm gonna give this a string. I want a string type. Or if you want this to be inferred on its own, just go ahead, our traditional var. So var, I'm gonna say first. Let me just say first animal or whatsoever. Then for the second one, I'm also gonna say var second var second. Then for this, let me just, I don't want to return anything again. Let me just go ahead, say void. Then inside here, let me copy this. Inside here, I'm gonna say print let me say animal, and let me say dollar animal dollar first. Then I'm gonna say animal, then dollar second animal. Yep. So let's come inside here. So I'm not making use of this any longer. So let me get rid of this, and also let me get rid of this print statement here. Let me get rid of this print statement here. I'm also not making use of this. So inside here, I'm gonna call the function directly. I'm gonna say animal. So the animal here takes in two parameters. So, and it's two name parameters. So for the first one, let me close this with a semicolon. Then let me come inside here and say the first animal is gonna be a cheetah. Okay. For name parameters, you're gonna start with the name of the parameter. So I'm gonna say first, then this, then for the first, I'm gonna say a cheetah, then comma, then for the second, second is gonna be a tiger. Perfect. So let's run this. So you can see cheetah, animal, tiger, animal, and that's what I said here. Cheetah, animal, tiger, animal. So let me show you guys what I mean by the name parameter doesn't care which position it takes. So I could go ahead starting with the second, Control X. So the second is the first here, you see. Then Control V. Let me put a comma here. Then let me get rid of this one. Then let's run this. You see, we still get the same result. Cheetah, animal, tiger, animal. So the name parameter doesn't give a shit about any position or of any type, you understand? So the second could, when you're calling the function, the second could come in handy as the first, as you can see here. That's why I made use of something more simplified, like a name more simplified for you guys to understand. So here now, the first argument is the first, the second argument here is the second, or you could say the first parameter is the first and the second argument is the second. So the parameter which we then pass in first, we didn't start with the first, we started with the second, and then followed suit the first. So the name argument doesn't care. But when you're dealing with positional parameters, so let me show you how positional parameter works. You don't need any curly brace of any type. So let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this, and see it spots error above here, and you don't need to do it this way. So you don't need any of this. So just like this. Perfect. So let's run this. So you see tiger animal, cheetah animal. So the first parameter passed into this position is the tiger, and the second is the cheetah. So how about if we want the cheetah to be the first and then the tiger to be the second? So you see that you must make sure that you pass in the cheetah. So let me call this. You must make sure that you pass in the cheetah over here as the first, Control V, so that it's going to recognize it as the first parameter, then the tiger the second. So let's run this. So the results here, the tiger is going to switch over to this side and cheetah is going to switch over also to this side. So let's run this. So you see cheetah animal, tiger animal. So they work in handy based on their position. So that's the major difference. Then how about if you want to make a position, a parameter to be required? So if you want to make a parameter to be required, all you have to do is, so we can come inside here and say required. So this is the keyword required, reason that's to require an argument or a parameter. So you can see it spots one issue on line 15 here over here. It says can't have modifier required here, try removing required. So I purposely knew and made this up so that I'm gonna have to explain this for you guys. So if you want to have a parameter required, always make sure that that parameter is a positional parameter. It's a named parameter, sorry, not a positional parameter. So for positional parameters, you can't pass in the required keyword. So the required keyword always goes in handy just with the name parameter. So let me show you guys. Control X, then our curly braces, Control V. Then inside here, I'm gonna say required. So make sure the required keyword comes before the type annotation or comes before the type here, you understand, of a variable. So require the type, then the name. So it's posed two issues for us. It says the name parameter first is required, but there's no blah 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 blah. So what it simply means is on here it posts an issue here on line 3. So I told you guys when you're dealing with name parameters, you call the name. So I'm gonna say this to be the first, or let me say the second. Anyone you want, second. So here I'm gonna say, so this error is still here because we've not assigned the first, so we assign just the second. So let's go ahead assigning the first. So you're gonna see the error is gonna go away first. So you see the error goes out. So whenever a parameter is required, that makes sure that you provide that parameter, else nothing is going to happen. Like else your code is not going to run successfully, you understand? So whenever you have an issue, you have an error, you already should have known by now that your code is not going to compile properly, you understand? So you have to make sure that you fix your issues then before you click on run button here. So let's see. And it runs tiger animal, cheetah animal. So see another good difference between name parameters and positional parameters. So if I want to switch to make the cheetah the first and the tiger the second, it's very easy. We're trusting ourselves using positional parameters. So I'm going to come here, say second, then come over here and say this to be first. So you run this, cheetah is going to be the first and tiger the second. So you see cheetah animal, tiger animal. Perfect. And that is that for functions. See you in the next video.